Hello, welcome to another video in our Excel tutorial. In this lesson we will talk about lookup. I've opened the file 2_lookup, 2 meaning this is the second module in the Excel tutorial, or the second week, and the subject is lookup. I'll have a few more videos for this module as well. But for now, let's take a look at lookup. There's two different kinds of lookup formulas. There's the vertical lookup and the horizontal lookup, which is shortened to be Vlookup and HLookup. So looking at the Winston's chapter, chapter 3 on lookup, I've taken his spreadsheet examples that he's given us. And I'm going to complete these problems that he wants us to solve. The first question is, how do I write a formula to compute tax rates based on income? He's given us a table of different tax rates for different income levels. 4 income levels, 4 tax rates. We have these 4 different income levels here, but we don't know what the tax rate is. I could manually look at it. I could say, well, 30,000, and look up here in 30,000, and see the tax rate is 0.34, and then I could type it in. But if I had thousands of records within a sheet, it would take me quite a long time to do that. And I am also likely to make some mistakes. So to avoid mistakes and to automate the process that might take hours into something that might just take a second, we will use Vlookup. Vlookup, just type equals, like we're starting a formula like usual. V, right? And L, Vlookup, double click the formula. It gives us the syntax. First is the lookup value. And the value that we're looking up is this one right here to the left of our formula. Right? So that's the value. The table array is above. This is the table array. D4 to E7 right here. But I've already given this table a range name, and that range name is lookup. And it knows that because as soon as I highlight that range, it pops up for me and tells me that this range is already named lookup. So I click there. Sorry, I need to put that back in. So now you'll see I'm looking up D11, the minus 1,000, based on the lookup table, which is highlighted in red here. And that I want to return, I want it to give me the value of the second column. This is the first column in the range, it's the second column. So it's going to look at the first column, but give me the value for the second column, so I'll type in a 2. If I had multiple columns, I could type in a 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it is that I want to return to the cell. And then the final option, and it pops up here, it tells you exactly what the final part of the formula is, true or false. True meaning approximate match, not a perfect match, but approximate. And false meaning an exact match. It has to be exactly the same. In this case, I want true because I know that some of these values like 98,000 and 29,000 and 104, these are not exactly the same numbers that are in the range, right? They're close, but not exactly the same. So click enter. The first response is an NA. This is an error. And it's because this is a negative number. I could fix this by adding a negative number to my range. But for now, I'll just leave it as an error. I'm just going to drag this down, fill in the rest of the formulas. And you see it found 30,000, which is an exact match to the range, and it returned 34. 29,000 is not an exact match, but it's below 30 and above 10, so it returned 0.3. 98 is not quite 100, so it gave me the value for 0.34. And 104 is above 100, so it gave me 0.4, just like it should. Right? Now I can show you the difference by copying this formula, what happens if we use false instead of true. Get the same response there. So we'll just change this from false to true, or true to false. This means exact match, right? Oh, it changed it back for me. False. Exact match. And there we go. So look at my formula. It's Vlookup D11. We're looking up the value in this column, and we're comparing it to the value to lookup array in this column, and we're returning the second column from the range. The first is not an exact match, so it gives me the error. And the second one is an exact match, so it gives me the value. But the remaining three are not exact, so it gives me an error for each. So this is the difference, shows the difference between true and false. Different results you'll get with this particular formula change. So let's look at the next problem. Given a product ID, how can I look up a product's price? Right? Not a value, but an ID. So sometimes in databases we give each customer a unique ID, and that customer can have that ID can have letters or numbers in it, or even special characters. So what I want to do is look up. Let me fix this real quick. Look up the ID from this table based on this range. Right? I want to find the ID in this table, compare it to the range, find it in the range, and then return the value that's associated with it. So I'll type Vlookup again. Oops, my equal sign, Vlookup. There it is. Double click. I'm going to look up this value. I've already named my range to lookup 2. You see it pops up, it's red. Then I am going to return column 2, not column 1. There's only 2 columns in the range. I don't want to return the value of the product ID, right? I want to return the price of the product. And then I want this to be exact because I don't want to have any false or incorrect data. Right? If it's not exactly the product ID I'm looking for, I don't want it to return anything. Enter, and you'll see for 2211, I get $5.20. Drag it down. B242, $4.20. That's right. Third problem, suppose that a product's price changes over time. I know the date of the product was sold. How can I write a formula to compute the product's price? So now instead of a value or a unique ID, we're going to look at the date, right? Because the date can be different for the same product at different times that it's sold, because sometimes product prices, like a cup of coffee in our last example from last week, goes up and down. So we're going to look up the date. And this time, instead of using Vlookup, our range is horizontal. It's multiple columns. And so we're going to use Hlookup. So equals Hlookup. But it works the same. I'm going to look up this date value. I want to look in this range, which I've already named as lookup, if I could type, as lookup 3. You'll see, it's highlighted in red yet now. I want to return, this time not the column, right, but the row value. So the first row is 1 and the second row is 2. And that's what I want. I want the price from the second row based on the date in the first row. 2. And then we're going to do true here because we do want it to be approximate. These prices are up to that date. And so, for example, our first date is 1/4/2005. Well, there's no 1/4/2005 in the range, but there's a 1/1/2005. That would be the closest date. And I hope that it would return that value, which it did, 98. Let's pull this down. Too many. And so 5/10/2005, yeah, the closest value is 5/1/2005, as we can see here. So it should be 105. 9/12, the closest value is 8/1. 5/1, the closest, that's an exact match, so it's 105. So we got the values we're looking for. All right. I hope you have a good idea how to use Vlookup and Hlookup now. I use it all the time. I think it's probably one of the most common formulas that you are going to use in your project because it allows you to look up values from your table and associate new values with them and in many different ways. So that's very helpful in modifying your data on the fly, so to speak. All right, I'll close here and start the next video.